Hi, Romans here and welcome to another music review. I review every album from a viewpoint of a musician, as I'm a singer, songwriter and a bass player for my own group Jakobay. And last year we have released our debut album called Pursuits in Life. What makes it unique is that it's a pretty heavy prog rock without guitars. Instead you have drums, bass, saxophone and keyboards. You can check out two of our music videos on my YouTube channel. We're building our monument and fake a new kind of beauty, and a studio live take of A Way to Oppose. Description of all these videos you will find all the information about where is the record available. It's available on all digital platforms like Spotify, Tidal, Deezer, Bandcamp, but also in this digipack version of a CD with a very beautifully illustrated 20 pages long booklet. So in case you want one, all you need to do is contact me via email, Instagram, Facebook, or you can get one on Bandcamp. And today I'm going to review the new album from the T Club called If When.
Music review. Music review.
These guys reached out to me to check their record out and to make a review, and I'm pretty glad they did because I really liked it. At first I thought that this was some kind of a new upcoming band and this was their debut album, but actually I found out that this is their 5th studio album and they've been doing music for 11 years at this point, which is longer than when I think back about my first band that I had in 2009 when I was like 18, 19. Their 5th studio album is called If/When. As of now I've heard it 6 times, so let's dive right into the review. The first track of the album serves as a sort of acoustic intro. It's called The Way You Call, and it sets the mood for the majority of the album, kind of that 60s, 70s atmosphere. Also, before I even go deeper with this record, I really have to appreciate the singer. The singer has a great voice.
I believe it's like home, home, and in the heavens there's a fire returning, my friend, melted away the root.
The second track, called Say Yes, is slightly more in a neo-prog style, and if you watch my reviews maybe you know that I'm generally not a big fan of neo-prog, but I actually like this song a lot. To a certain degree it reminds me of the band Yes, they even have it in the title, Say Yes, mainly in terms of like vibe, atmosphere and also that uplifting nature of the track. There is one criticism I have to draw towards this song, however, and that's that especially when the verses, and even when the song starts, but mainly the verses, they remind me a lot of the song Grace Kelly from Mika.
And if I keep my head submerged under the ground, then maybe it's already gone. I could be brown, I could be blue, I could be violet sky, I could be light.
And this is just one of the, I think, most iconic and one of the most famous songs of like last 10 years, mainly because of how many contestants in singing competitions try to sing that song. And I just can't help but hear that song every time I hear this track. This is something that songwriters and composers should be careful about, because if you have even just a little part that's reminiscent of something very famous, then you run a risk of people always kind of wishing to hear that melody that it reminds them of. But it's just a minor criticism because generally I really like this track. The third track, If I Mean When, is also a song that they shot a music video for, and this was the first track that I've heard from the guys when they contacted me. I checked it out and I immediately liked the song, even though I've read somewhere that they were a progressive band, and I was like, okay, so what's progressive about this? Of course you have to go deep with the record to find all the progressive tracks, but this is a very beautiful, chilling song that may kind of mislead you as to what you will find on the record. It's kind of like modern folk pop song, but with a little bit of that indie coat. It's on acoustic guitars again. There's this strong 60s, 70s atmosphere, and this is a song I can easily imagine being played on radios.
I say, if I
first big contrast to what we've heard so far comes with the fourth track called Riverman. The song starts in a very dark, almost malicious way. After the more mellow and dramatic first half of the song essentially starts building up until it explodes into that psychedelic metal rage with great synths and aggressive rhythms. Also, the singer sounds kind of different here. It's almost as if you're listening to a different member of the band singing. It's much more aggressive, but at the same time it really fits the song very well. I really like this track, but I do have to say that it feels a bit out of place here. Especially when you're listening to this album, for example, as a sort of a background music, or when you're walking somewhere and your mind kind of drifts away and you're just wandering in your thoughts. And when this song comes in, you may be kind of wondering like, okay, did Spotify changed my artist, or am I listening to a different record, or is it something else? You know, it takes some time to get used to that. I guess the song has a meaning within the concept of the album, but it is really a very different song compared to the rest of the tracks. I like the song, it's just that the contrast here is pretty big. The fifth track, Come at the Loss, kind of continues where the song before Riverman left off. It's again more of that pop folk kind of track. It's got a very nice melody and a very nice mood. Probably the poppiest track on the album is the sixth song called Sinking Ship, which has a great melody. Really, I love this track and I can easily picture this as a radio hit. The final track of the album, the seventh track called Creature, is almost 28 minutes long song. So even though there were traces of progressive music before, this is like the true sign of a progressive band in a way. So at first the track is pretty much in the style of the whole album, so we've got that combination of folk and prog rock, albeit in a more artistic way. Close to 6 minutes the song gets into an ambient territory which is still in sync with the album's overall atmosphere. Then there's some subtle electronics. I kind of wish they experimented with that a little more. The transition into a heavier part is a bit radical, kind of like waking up from a dream, but I guess that's what they were going for. And then there are some darker overtones that eventually take over, and at around 11 minutes there's this heavy and dark instrumental part. After that we've got the same melody and kind of the same part as that heavy part, but now it's arranged differently. It's slightly more mellow, more laid back, and the song is eventually going back into that folk territory, having a very melancholic autumn vibe. I also love those 80s synths that sound pretty interesting here. And then the song goes full circle with some references to their third track, If I Mean When, and also the final 2 minutes of the track are kind of like the first track of the album, the intro. The album came out in summer, in I think 30th of July, but I think that the timing for my listening to this album was pretty perfect, because with the coming autumn it feels like a perfect soundtrack for those melancholic autumn walks in the parks, with a few exceptions on the album, few maybe moments that will disturb you from that melancholy, but generally this is a perfect environment to enjoy this album in. The album is also very dynamic. I would go as far as to call it a bit too dynamic actually. Even when I recorded my album, I was pretty much going against that trend of over compressing the music and of the loudness war, meaning that everybody wants to have their songs as loud as possible for the sake of the dynamics. And I like that these guys actually made a very dynamic record, but sometimes it's working against the record. For example, when the album starts, the intro is so quiet that it's barely hearable. Of course, you can turn up the volume, but with the other tracks, it can kind of blow up your stereo, so you gotta be careful about that. Also, when I was, for example, walking to school and listening to the album, there were some parts which were barely hearable, some parts that were very loud. So generally it's good to have dynamics on a record, but maybe I would tone it down a little bit. I found this record very interesting, and I'm not really sure if I have heard like this combination of folk and progressive rock before. Not that I was searching for it, but I don't really know about any other band like this. If you like modern progressive bands that have some overlaps into other genres and that are doing something a bit different, I would definitely check these guys out. Even if you, for example, like pop music with a bit of that folk edge, I would check them anyway because you would enjoy most of the record in my opinion. So I will definitely check their older records as well. If you're a fan of this band, you can let me know in the comment section below. How much do you like their new album? Which do you think is their best? Maybe which album should I go to next? You can follow me on Facebook or on Instagram. You can find the links to both in the description below. If you like this video, don't forget to like, to share, to subscribe. You can check out my own original music, my live performances, my worst to best series, and quite a lot of other reviews as well. So thanks a lot for watching.